Good afternoon, guys. So today we will look at the seminar for material mix variance. Okay, so if you look here, you can see the question we will look at today. It's the Choco. This company, they produce and sells three type of biscuits, as you see, and one of the product is called Ozy. Yep. Anyway, this product contains of three type of ingredients: honey, sugar, and syrup. Okay, and it does give you the information, the standard information for 1 unit. This is very important to look at if it's only 1 unit or 1,000 units or so. Okay, so if 1 unit, you don't need to divide, it's much easier. Okay, so these are the standard information available. So if you look at the honey, that's a 20 gram at 0.02 per gram. So there is something you need to note here, that it's in grams, not in kilograms. So what we need to do, guys, we need to convert them into kilogram. So if you leave them as a gram, that's fine, there's no problem, you should have the same answer, but I like kilogram, but you can leave them as a gram, it's up to you really. Okay, so for sugar the same, for syrup the same. Okay, these are the standard figures. Okay, so now in terms of the actual figures, we have here the what we call it, the 101,000 units produced, which is the output. The actual output is 101,000, and from the kilogram used, the actual kilogram used for each ingredient, for honey 2,200 kilogram, 1,400 of sugar, and 1,050 of syrup. And the question tells you that there is 1,000 grams in a kilogram. So you should know this without this information. Okay, that's fine. So what I want you, this is the question we need to cover. We are not interested to cover the rest of the question. Okay, we are only going to cover section A, which we need to calculate the material variance for the material usage variance. This is the one that's the basic variance. And we calculate the material mix variance and the material yield. Okay, so as I mentioned, B and C, we are not interested. So let's have a look at the first one with A. So first of all, as I mentioned, I like to transfer them into kilogram. It's just for me, but again, if you want to leave it as a gram, up to you, right? So how to transfer it? Very simple. How can you transfer this and this? So for the quantity 20 grams, so what you need to do, you need to divide it by 1,000 in order to find the kilogram. So 20 divided by 1,000 equal 0.02 kilograms. So write it down. So write it down here, 0.02 kilogram. So 15 divided by 1,000 equal 0.015, and 10 divided by 1,000 equal 0.010 kilogram. Okay, great. So if you add them all together, blah blah blah, that's 0.045. So write them down, guys, so you know the figures. So 0.05 kilogram, the total for all the ingredients. So these are the standard mix, Okay, so now this one, how to convert them into kilogram. This is different. You don't divide, you multiply. Yeah, you multiply, because this is a USD or pound, whatever. Okay, 0.02 times 1,000. The first one equal 20, right? 20 USD per kilogram. and the second one you type it by 1000, easy, 30, and the third one 25. Okay, 25 USD. Okay, so this is the first thing you need to do just to makes your life easier. So when we look at the material usage variance, this is basic variance, is not complicated. We've done a lot of practice on it, and what you need to do, you just need to use the formula for the usage variance. So the formula is, if you remember, that standard quantity minus standard quantity minus actual quantity times standard price times standard price. Very simple. Okay, I will show you one how to do it because it's really simple. We've done a lot of practice on it. So what is the standard quantity for the honey? So if you look here, so you can see how to calculate the standard quantity. If you remember, the required kilogram for the honey, which is 0.02 kilogram, you multiply by the actual output, which is the 101,000 units. If you do this, you should be able to find the kilogram, which is the 2020 kilogram. Actual kilogram is there. You don't need to do anything there. So the difference in variances 180, and of course if you multiply by 20, which is the standard cost per kilo, if you remember, because the one we converted, if you remember, you should be able to find the 3,600 pound. Adverse, of course, is adverse because as you see that we used more kilogram than we expected, and that's why we have adverse kilo or adverse variance for the honey. So what we need to do, guys, for the sugar and the syrup, you're doing the same stuff, absolutely. So if you manage to add them all together, so this is positive, favorable, adverse, adverse, so 1,150 adverse. So this is the material usage variance, and this material usage variance is gonna broken down is broken down into material mix and material yield. So mix variance and yield variance. So when it comes to mix variance, guys, if you remember that we need to do the table for 6 columns, and as I mentioned, the first column is the ingredients is there. The third column, which you put the quantity, the actual quantity, and again is in the question 2,200, 1,400, and 1,050. And the next, not the next column, the number 5 column, which is the standard cost per kilo, that's a 20, 30, and 25. This is after we convert them into kilogram. Okay, so in this case, we know this, we know this, we know this. So what we need to do, we start with this. And if you remember the way how you do it, actual quantity, the total, you need to find out the total of the actual quantity here, which is 4,650 kilogram. Yeah, 4,650 kilogram. So then you multiply by the standard mix. How to calculate the standard mix? If you remember the way to calculate it, if you go back to the question, what you need to do, the 0.02, for example, for the honey, so you need to divide it by the total of kilogram, which is 0.05, if you remember. So 0.02 divided by 0.045, okay, that will give you guys 2,066.67 kilogram of honey. So again, I converted into kilogram. You can do it by gram, it's fine. So 20 divided by 45, is it 45 gram? Yeah. And if you multiply by 4,650 kilogram total here, you should be able to find the same answer. So once we've got the kilogram here, the difference is 133.33, and if you multiply by the standard cost per kilo, so this is 2,666.60, and that's the variance. And again, it is adverse. Of course it is adverse, because as you see, the actual here is more, isn't it? So the actual quantity material is more than the standard, and that's why we've got adverse variance here. So for the sugar and for the syrup, it's you're doing the same stuff, and you should be able to find the same answer as this. So 15 divided by 45, 10 divided by 45, and you multiply by the actual output, which is sorry, not the actual output, you multiply by the total actual quantity, which is 4,650 kilogram. So as you see from the material mix variance, it's 1,416.65 favorable, and this is total material mix variance. Of course this is favorable, as you see. Why? Because as you see, guys, here, so we have the highest in kilogram here, 150, and the interesting thing that it's more expensive, isn't it? And this is why it's favorable. So yeah. So the next one will come at the yield variance. So when you look at the yield variance, we'll look at the output. Is it the same output we expected or less? So again, if you look at the table here, guys, so we need to do the 6 columns, and the first one is the ingredients there. The third one, if you look at it, the one we did it here, you copy paste this actual quantity at the standard mix. This one you copy paste here, and of course the fifth one, which is the standard cost per kilo, like this. So it's very simple. What you need to do, you need to focus on the first or the second column in order to do it. But now when we look at the yield variance, now we look at what, guys? We look at the output, right? The output, not the kilogram or the input. Okay. So now if you look here, you can see that the standard quantity as the standard mix. Now what we need to do right now, if you go back to the question, so the 0.02 kilogram, this one you multiplied by what? You multiplied by the actual output, in order to find it. Because as I mentioned, this is yield, is talking about, is related to the output. So that's 2020. So basically it's the same as the first one. When you calculate the standard quantity, is the way you do it. So absolutely should be the same answer here. That's the standard quantity. So if you see the difference here, that's the mix variance in kilogram, and if you multiply by per kilo, you should be able to find the variances here. And if you look here, all of them are adverse, and the total is 2,566.65. As you see, it's gonna be, unfortunately it's less. So we expected to produce more output than we expect, than we assumed, but we manufacture less output, and that's why we have less output, means unfavorable or adverse variance. So if you add the yield and the mix together, if you have the yield and the mix together, so this is equal what? Equal 1,150 adverse, which is the usage variance, Okay, guys, this is about the mix and yield and the usage variance. So this was a summary of the seminar. So for students who didn't join the seminar, this is a summary. So otherwise in the seminars we covered more in details the answers, and it was opportunity for the student to practice in more time and more details. But this is a summary for you if you missed the seminar. So again, guys, as you see, the idea is what? To practice, isn't it? It's the mechanics. If you know the mechanics, it's easy. It's easy. It's very simple, easy. Absolutely simple to go ahead and do it. Okay? Anyway, any question, if you are struggling, just let me know. Happy to help. Otherwise, guys, take care of yourself and have a lovely day. Thank you very much.